Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show.
He was a hell of a drinker, not much of a boyfriend. In between jobs, it was kind of a trend. She was easy on the eye, so hard on the heart. She had her bags packed, yeah, she'd been running from the start. There was something about her, he couldn't let the chance pass. In a heartbeat that felt like an age, he gave her courage to ask. A million heartbeats later, they sat inside some pub. She doesn't know why she likes him, she says it must be love. He picks himself up the mirror and dusts himself down again. Without a warning, he says, I don't know what you ever saw in me, darling. You'll never be alone. These feelings that last for years aren't yet done. With all the broken hearts, you'll never be alone. These feelings that last for years aren't yet done. No. Gotta wonder how he stays wasted every night. She says he makes her feel safe, so I guess that's sort of right. Safe didn't cut it when the boss knocked at her door. With a tear and a packed bag, she was running some more. She caught a reflection of the pain as the bus passes by. She says to herself, not this time. Flies back home, takes his head in her hands and says to his face, I fucking love you, I don't get it, cause I don't know what you ever saw in me, darling. I don't know what you ever saw in me, darling. I don't know what you ever saw in me, darling. I don't know what you ever saw in me, darling.
What's up, everybody? I got TJ from the Bar Stool Preachers here out of Brighton, UK. Awesome punk ska band, whatever you want to label them. They just make really good fucking poetic songs. So I'm really happy to have them here. It's been a long time coming. So thank you so much for coming on the show, TJ. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Shane, man, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me. And yeah, you almost fell into that little pigeonhole trap that people seem to do with us. Is it ska? Is it punk? Is it pop? Those guys are too poppy to be punk. Those guys are too punky to be ska. Fuck it. It is what it is, you know?
It's just good fucking music, man. And
There
that's,
you go.
We have an issue nowadays where we have to kind of genre label to see what kind of fucking playlist you fall into on Spotify or something. But when it all comes down to it, it's just good fucking music, and you should listen to it. So that's my
Uh,
my 2 cents.
there you go, man. I totally agree with that. And I think that as for any young musician out there that's listening to this and starting up, don't fucking worry about it. Just write what feels good, write what feels true to you, and let everybody else worry about fucking how they're gonna worry about it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll start off from that point about, starting off as a band. And I mean, I'll let you tell your story throughout this show, but coming from a musical background and family members in the scene, I mean, what was it that brought you to the creation of Bar Stool Preachers and to where you are today?
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, big, wide open one to crack things off with. I love that. Um, I grew up in, as you kind of alluded to, a real musical household. My dad's the singer in Sparrow. So it's one of those things where from the age of 5 and 6, I was at shows. I was watching him do what he does, and as soon as it was possible, I was down the front and in the pit. So I kind of grew up. With many musical uncles as well, the guys in RG Bargy, and being young and meeting the guys out of Rancid, and just having some real fucking good people to look up to. Yeah, as a young man, as a young person, sort of trying to find their way. Music was something that always I kept on coming back to. So I got ADHD and I was running around the world just fucking starting fires and getting into fights. But music was something that like kind of always dragged me back. It was something that was easy for me to understand. If you listen to my mum tell it, music was like one of the only things that would calm me down, and invariably and difficult for everybody else. It was always the heavier, punkier stuff that seemed to calm me down the most. So, yeah, man, like I grew up doing that stuff. I left the UK at the age of about 18. I went traveling. I went out to Africa and Asia and places like that. Came home, worked in a coffee shop, saved up some money, went out again, and I was actually living in Prague. I was working for a record like manufacturing company called Pirates Press at the time. And then I got the call from mum that dad had cancer. So this is probably when I was, fuck, what would I have been, 22, something like that. And mum called and she was like, "Look, you don't have to come back home, but just letting you know that it would be kind of cool if someone else was here giving us a hand as well." So the next day, I just packed my shit up and left. Came back to the UK and helped them get through that. Helped him in and out of the bath. He's a fucking lump, so it was difficult for mum mum to do on her own. Yeah, man. Moved to Brighton. Moved to Brighton. Met Bungle, who's the bassist. Fell in love with each other straight away. Started writing some songs around the kitchen table, and across the years, sort of pieced together a ragtag bunch of fucking miscreants and fuckheads, and just started traveling the world and touring the world playing the music. So yeah, it's now
Wow.
been first album was 2016. So it's been a while. I think next year is going to be my 10-year anniversary of writing music for the Bar Stool Preachers. But I was always in bands. I was always, you know, trying to find a place to put that energy and turn that destructive into creative.
Yeah, well, being 5 years old and watching, being in the pubs, watching your dad do what he was doing, did you feel kind of obligated to the scene, when you started doing what you were doing, or was it was natural because that's what you just grew up around?
That's a super interesting question, and the word obligated is something that kind of has pinged around my head, especially when you ever think about not doing it. That's the time where it's like, well, hang on a minute, like you got to reassess who you are inside yourself, intrinsically what makes you you, and that was something that I grew up with and didn't know any different. So, um, I yeah, good one. Yes and no. Like I feel it now, especially as those guys are getting older and those guys are sort of moving on to their last tours and their last shows and stuff like that. I now feel that there's going to be a big gap, and someone needs to be carrying the flag. That being said, there's some great new bands out there, bands like Risky and the Ridicule, band like Grade Two. There are some great UK bands coming through that are doing just that. So to be honest, there's never been a pressure to do it. Like my folks and my dad especially never really pressured me into doing it for them. They were always just like, find what makes you happy and do that. And again, for me, it was always quite an easy thing. to go back to, because it was something that helped me out and it was something that I related to, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, growing up as a kid, and you had the musical influences around you. Was there something that you felt that you needed to do musically to like escape what was constantly on in the background around you? Or was there a different band or type of music that you started to cling to that you felt was your own, that wasn't forced upon you?
Yeah, big time. And I think like anyone that's got a good relationship with music and their parents, you kind of influence each other as you go along, right? So the music I like and listen to on a daily basis is actually quite eclectic. So mum grew up and there was lots of fucking, girls and guitars and Joan Armatrading and things like that, even down to people like Nora Jones. I'm gonna lose some punk points here, but fuck it. Um, but in the house there was always the Clash, there was always Tamla, Motown, Stax. There was always, like some quality music around. But then again, you grow up and bands like, Green Day and Blink at the time really grabbed me as a sort of preteen and then into an early teenager. They were the bands that were angry. They were the bands that still had something to say. But as you can probably tell from the Bar Stool Preachers music, it being melodic was always super important to us too. So I think there's always been a thing for me to try and write in a way that other people haven't heard it. But then I think if you kind of fall down that slippery slope of fuck, I've got to make something original every time I make something, then you kind of stymie yourself and stop doing what, in my opinion, what it should be for, which is to tell your truth and to have fun, you know.
No, absolutely. And I think so what you've done in my eyes, and this is just my own opinion, in taking that punk style of writing, putting the melodies to it, makes it more digestible and easier to hear and feel, and you can feel it on a different level. Like I say, sometimes when you get your punk music, you feel that rage, you feel that anger, and that's all you're going to get. With you, I hear that rage and anger, but it gives me goosebumps when I listen to it.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, man, and thank you. Like that's we've never been afraid if the punk scene didn't like us. I think that's a big thing to, again, for people if they're writing, to keep in mind that ultimately what punk is and what punk's supposed to be is incredibly personal. Like it's something that people have tried to gatekeep for years. And if you weren't 77, then you weren't punk. And then if you weren't 82, you weren't punk. And then if it weren't three chords, it weren't punk. And it's like, you know what, actually it doesn't have to all be shock and awe. It doesn't have to be, as hard and as heavy as you can play it. There's fucking room for that for sure. If you got stuff to get off your chest and three chords and screaming your lungs out, like that's fucking great. Go for it. But for me personally, like growing up again, listening to Squeeze and the Faces and Zepp, like there was always room for intelligence within punk too. There was always scope in your music to have a big chorus that everyone could sing along. I mean, Cox Sparrow do that so well. Like their melodies are invariably nursery rhymes. Like the guitar follows the main vocal, and then there's this huge step into a big chorus. So it's something that I've never been scared to do, and luckily the other guys in the band have never really stopped me from trying to do that. From trying to make something that was a little bit more accessible and a little bit more, yeah, easy to swallow. When we were back in the day, we kind of stopped trying to. What's the right way to say this? When we first made the band, we were like, listen to us, we're gonna change the fucking world. And then after a while, you stop trying to change the world and start actually changing the world. And it kind of happens person by person. So there was a time where we used to describe what we did as like trying to feed a dog medicine. We would you'd coat it in this bouncy scar peanut butter and just hope that the message actually went down their fucking throats, that it should be about unity, it should be about equality, it should be about solidarity, it should be about chances, it should be about social safety net, it should be about looking after each other. And for lots of different people, getting that message across comes in lots of different forms. Like for me, I'm into story writing, I'm into love songs, I'm into, I'm fucking angry as a general state of being. That tends to be. And the older I get, I thought it would dissipate, but the older I get,
No.
the angrier I am, Shane. I can't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, it
can't
doesn't
fucking
it
help.
doesn't go away, man. It
You
doesn't
know,
go away
like,
the older you get.
and you wake up with a crick in your back and a fucking sore knee after 30 days of sleeping on floors and sofas, and you go, "Yep, I'm still fucking angry. Let's go next. Album number 4. what we got to say? Let's go. So that part of it, the vitriol has never left us, but the ability to write better songs, better in sort of quotation marks, but better songs and more accessible songs, that's coming easier to us as we mature.
Well, I think that is the essential definition of punk. And the problem is that people can have their own thought about what punk should be. For me, what punk should be is just doing what people don't expect you to do.
I
And
love that.
and when you're creating songs and when you come across a song and like Lighthouse Keeper comes on and you're just like, fuck my life up right now. I wasn't ready for this in this fucking album, and it crashes in. It's crazy to feel that, because you can kind of feel the soul and heart that's behind that. And to me, a song like that, throwing it in on an album that just fucking blows your mind, that's punk as fuck to me. Like, not
Thank
expecting
you.
that.
We were expecting some kickback, right? Like from that song, I was too. Like, and especially in the video, it's in keeping with the song. So those people that are listening to this that haven't kind of seen the video, so it's very much just me singing at the camera with a projection on my face, with various great bits of footage that a friend of ours called Paul put together, and yeah, we tried to keep that as raw and as vulnerable as we could. But we were expecting some sort of fucking kickback even at the shows the first time we did it. I'll be honest, like I don't suffer too much from nerves, but we decided to open the encore with that on the album tour, and just coming out on my own and Alex playing at the back of the stage and just having the single spotlight on. I was expecting some heckling or some, but instead of that, you had 6'5" fucking burly geezers with broken nose and cauliflower ears just bawling their eyes out at the front of the stage, and you're like, ah, fuck, I guess there's some room for this too.
Catch a break, catch a plane, catch something else. It's hard to catch the truth when you've been running from yourself. So take a long shower or take a day or two. Just do things in your own time. Do what you've gotta do. You wanna be a lighthouse keeper, all alone at the very edge of the world. Go ahead, young girl. You wanna be a lion tamer, get your head bitten off every way you can. Go ahead, young man. All I'm saying is I know people finding redemption under a bridge. The paths are happy ain't straight, so get your kicks any way that you can get. You can't change the direction of these winds, but adjust yourself. And all it takes is one moment for your good intentions to prevail, and they won't fail. You wanna be Mother Teresa, like yours alone is the world to save. Well, I remember those days. You reckon you're Mahatma Gandhi, and not eating is gonna prove them all wrong. We're too far gone, so why not try patience? Try kindness, yeah, try something new. can't change the direction of these winds, but adjust your sails. And all it takes is one moment for your good intentions to prevail, and they won't fail.
And respect to Pure Noise for not trying to control us creatively and letting us do that and get that message out. But it was, yeah, it was shit yourself scary for a while. I didn't know how that was going to go down, that song.
Yeah, well, it came off perfectly for me. It's one of those things that I talk about constantly, that music finds you when you least expect it, and something hits you differently when you're not looking for it, but you need it in your life, and that's what Lighthouse did for me when I heard it. So
Oh
thank you.
man, well, no, thank you. Like those personal connections are a big part of what keeps the battery charged for us to keep going, you know, and for me to keep writing. Like when we wrote that song, it was this rock and roll. We did it in a live stream actually, fucking during lockdown, and we had this. It was looking back on it, you know, I'm glad we didn't release it the way it was because it just sounded like a kids' TV program. There was a program called Postman Pat over here in the UK, and it had just this the whole way through all the verses, and it was a real up tempo sort of simple rock and roll song. But when we got into the studio, I was like, the lyrics are good enough, the message is good enough, the emotion's good enough. Let's just strip it all the way back. Let's go back to what this song wants to be. You know, and I wrote that just on myself and on acoustic, so I knew that it could work very simply. And our producer Ben at the time was just like, lean into this, dude. Like you need to try and find what this song wants to be. And yeah, just to take all of the bells and whistles away and leave the pure raw emotion. I think served that song really well.
I definitely did. And you brought up Pure Noise, and for those people who don't know, great record label, has a bunch of amazing bands on it. But what I want to touch on is your first two albums that you put out, Blatant Propaganda and Crazy Governor,
Yeah.
is they were all put out on your own, right? So where's the biggest difference when you finally get to a Pure Noise, when it came time to recording a new album? Like, did you feel any different pressures? Were you worried about what people were going to try to touch or play with your creation?
Yeah, a little. I think there's always that. So with the first two, like you say, we sort of recorded and did it all ourselves and had plans to do everything. The first album we actually did like a Kickstarter. Excuse me, we did like a pledge campaign. And then we were lucky enough that Pirate Express Records licensed them off us, so they really helped to again help us build an infrastructure, help us build a fan base that would be able to access the music. Now, when Pure Noise came along, we had already written the album and we'd already recorded Above the Static. We already recorded number three. So they could have very easily turned around and gone, yeah, this 8 songs are great, but you know the next four, they're not really vibing for us. But again, luckily or testament to the writing, they were just like, this whole fucking thing, this whole fucking album's brilliant. Like let's release it as it is. Let's not touch a hair on its head. So now we're in the position where for the first time ever, we are doing album number four, and it will be on Pure Noise again. But we've sent the labeled demos for the first time, so now we will see how they kind of they proceed with that. They may well turn around and go, "Do you mind us having input in this? Like, do you mind us recommending a producer for you to work with that we feel gets it?" And you know that again is quite scary. But ultimately, we'll always write what we want to write, and we'll always find a way of making it sound like the Bar Stool Preachers and making it as real and as angry and as heartfelt as the rest of them have been.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. I know there's, going into a situation like that, the apprehensiveness that comes behind of sending demos out, right? And just being like
Yeah.
that waiting game. Okay, what are they going to say?
Yeah, man. And like as you probably know, a lot of the music world and the music business is perception, right? So we had done fantastically for album number one and two, and the band's trajectory was very strong. We'd supported like loads of great bands, Interrupters, Bounce of Souls, Bronx. You know, like we'd been around as Hosen over here in Europe, which is a big deal over here. Don't think they're very well known in America, but it's like Germany's equivalent of U2. So we did like 35,000 people with them. So everything was building real steady. And then we decided to leave Pirates before we'd even found a new home for Above the Static. It was like a, jump off the edge of the boat and fucking see if you can sit, see if you can swim kind of moment. And I remember I was sitting there in LA at my friend Vic's house, and I'd sent it to a couple of labels, and the feedback we had was brilliant. But we were being courted by Sony and by Century before that. So before COVID, we had like lunches up at fucking in Hollywood, and they were like, right, let's talk about moving you guys onto some sort of major implant. And we were like, right, okay, cool. This is going to be different. And then it really would be, how many fingers do you want in this pie, and how much control do you want to give away, and how much creativity can you manage to keep, and then how the fuck do you sleep that night? So it was all a bit touch and go. And we sent the album out, and I'd sent the album out to a bunch of people, and I was genuinely sitting there thinking, no one's going to take this album. Like we're gonna have been on this amazing trajectory, and we're gonna have to crowdsource number three, Static. Like we're gonna have to crowdsource this in order to do it as well as it needs to do. To work with the videographers that we want to work with, to get it mastered and properly mixed by the people that we respect and we want it to go to. So yeah, I was to use a colloquialism, I was fucking bricking it, Shane. I was like, what have I done? I've really landed myself in some hot water here. But then Jake from the president from Pure Noise came, and he was just like, "These are fucking great. We know who you are. We saw you live. Like, I can't believe no one's snapped this up already. Let's go. Like, let's do this immediately." Um, and that was just an incredible moment, to which I'll always be grateful to those guys for having faith in a bunch of upstarts from the south of England.
Yeah, but at that moment too, it makes you feel like when you said you jumped off that ledge, into the deepest part of an ocean, it validated your decision, right? It
Yeah,
was somebody does fucking care. Somebody gets us. And that, I think that's the most important part, is somebody getting you to work with. You
big
said
time.
going, the major labels, the Sonys, and yeah, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. And when a band goes where they go, and you can tell when that first new album comes out, you're like, fuck, what happened?
Yeah, that's been a recurring theme, right? So like some of my favorite bands of all time, sounds like yours too, have gone on a major, and then kind of been musically castrated, or whatever people want to say, some sort of cotton wool's gone all the way around their sound, and you go, fuck, I miss the band it used to be. Like, there's very few bands that have managed to do that well across, especially like modern recent music history. There's very few bands that have managed to do it. And I think as well, my dad said to me when I was younger, he was like, whatever you build, you got to build it step by step, because if you build something hollow, one day you're going to fall through it. And that was really in my head when we were doing all these album talks, and when it looked like nobody wanted it, the other guys in the band, Gibbsy especially, and Bungle, like, they believe in it, and they like, we kind of had the chat, and I was like, well, what happens if we don't get someone? And they were like, who fucking cares? Like, if we don't, if no one picks this record up, and no one wants to put us out and give us, thousands of pounds to actually see if it can go somewhere, then we do it ourselves, and we believe in the sound, and we believe in the band. And so we had that positive affirmation and confirmation in the band. That's what we wanted to do. And then Pure Noise came in, so it really did happen in a real fucking, in a cool way. And like you say, someone that got it, someone that got the band, someone that understood, that we're a fucking hardworking touring band that's got a lot to say, and kind of, we don't want to be molded. We don't want to be shaped into something different. We want support, and then for people to kind of get the fuck out of our way. We want to hand up as much as anyone wants a good like tour support, and we want to be able to work with the people that we admire and that inspire us, be it for videos, be it for art, be it again in the studio. Like these are all things that a label can facilitate, and Pure Noise do that. It's a tough question to other musicians, and it's one that I've done a few panels before with other bands, and it's a question I'm always really intrigued to find what they find their answer to is what job does a label do in the 21st century? Like what it's not like it was where they would, click their fingers and all of a sudden you're a star. Like that pot is dwindling massively, and the return that you can get off of giving away your soul and your music again is hugely diminishing returns nowadays. So like you really have to ask yourself, what do we want out of this relationship with a label? And I think it's totally right that some bands nowadays are choosing to go themselves. For us, we self-manage, we do a lot of that shit, so it's brilliant for us personally to have a partner like Pure Noise, or a record label like them, because what it means is they can do a bunch of stuff that we don't have to do. It means that they can, facilitate a bunch of the distro that we don't have to think about, and tour merch that we don't have to think about, and all the nuts and bolts stuff that invariably can get a bit overwhelming when you do it all yourself. Like it's great to have a strong label partner to do that, but who knows what the future is going to hold? We might find ourselves, cliff jumping again at some point and having to reaffirm our belief in the band and in the sound again. But I think the sound has changed every album for us.
Definitely has.
Yeah, and I don't think that's gonna stop. So yeah, I'm excited to see how the next one comes out.
Well, I think, and I've talked about this a bunch of times on the show with many artists, and I think when your sound changes, you're allowed to change, right? Because what happens is every album that comes out, you're older, you have more experience, you have more maturity, you have just more life experience and time behind you to figure out what you want to do and what decisions may have been wrong and what things are right. And that's why sounds change. I don't think a lot of times there's a huge conscious effort, unless you're, like fucking Radiohead or something, to make your songs sound completely different than anything you've done before. But you're allowed to have that growth spurt, right? You're allowed to have that opportunity to say, hey, listen, this is where we are now, so accept us for what we are now.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I think one thing that has always influenced us are the other bands that we play with. So, you tell me as a young musician, you go on tour with the Bronx, you're not going to want to come off tour and write some fucking Bronx songs. Like, you go on
Yeah.
tour with bands like the Interrupters, and you see how polished and professional their songs are and their show is, and you want a bit of that too. So I think it's totally right, that life experience, and again, the key for me is inspiration. Like you need to keep working. Like Picasso said, like inspiration will find you, but it has to find you working. So like you have to keep writing and you have to keep touring and playing, but the life experience and the inspiration from other artists and other musicians that you meet, share studios with, share stages with along the way. That's huge in what bands sound like, go right the way back to the Rolling Stones or to the Beatles, or any of these bands that sounded and like Led Zeppelin, who had a completely different name in some cases, and then went on tour or saw the Stax Motown movement and were like, fuck yeah, that's what we want. We want the kids to be dancing like that at our shows. We want to bring that level of heart, that level of party, that level of inclusion to our shows. Like that's when sounds change. I think you're right in saying that it's very few people that make it as a conscious effort, but I think it's easier to go the other way and make a conscious effort to sound the same because you've had success. And for me, that is almost akin to cowardice. Like just you gotta fucking write what's in your head and your heart. In the words of Frank Turner, I'd be a machine if I stayed the same.
Yeah, and I mean, I look at that too. I mean, I love how you put that as, you know, cowardice of staying, because a lot of people do find that recipe and formula, and then that's just you get. I always go back to the Malcolm Young line of being in an interview and someone saying, you know, you've got 12 albums out, and they kind of all sound the same. How do you feel about that? And his response was, how fucking dare you? You
Yeah,
have
man.
13 albums out and they all
And
sound
they all
the same.
sound the same. I fucking love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great. But I mean, it's let me down as a music lover in the past when some of your favorite bands, not to mention names, but some of your favorite bands come out with album, fuck, I don't know, eight, let's say six, seven, eight, and they just sound like weaker versions or weaker echoes of previous inspiration. Like we get it, you can write those songs, that's great. But what about trying to write something a bit different? What about, and that's coming from a kid in the kid of the oi scene. That's like fucking where if you go too far coloring outside the lines, you've officially become a fucking glam band or some shit. Like it's not. Um, yeah, again, to me, there's more in it than that. And you're gonna pick up fans and you're gonna lose fans along the way, but ultimately you get musicians that write and play because they're musicians, and then you get musicians who write and play for money and fame and all the stuff that the kind of the tail wags the dog, and that's not who we are.
Yeah, and you just said you lose fans. I don't think you ever lose fans. They just go into hibernation because they still go back to the old shit that they fell in love with and listen to at times. You just don't know it anymore because they didn't show up to your show.
That's nice. Yeah, that's a nice way of thinking about it. Yeah, I can see the truth and the sense in that. We have actually consciously made an effort on an EP that's not come out yet. We took six songs from Above the Static. So we took Doorstep, we took All Turn Blue, Flatlined, Call Me on the Way Home, Laptop, and Don't Die Today, and we are releasing them as it's the label asked us for an acoustic EP, and us just being the nightmares to work with that we are, we instead turned and changed all the instrumentation and the arrangement. So now Doorstep is made of cellos and violins and dark deep piano with lots of female vocals, and Flatlined is one acoustic guitar played in a completely different way than the song was originally, and again like dual vocals between male and female. So like we did make a real conscious effort to make these ones sound different, and they sound fucking amazing, like in our opinion, but also the feedback we've had from the very small select group of people that we share our stuff with. Everyone's just like, wow, this I think one of
Well,
my friends actually said, if your band sounded like this, I'd really like you. I was like, okay, yeah, thanks.
Wow, that hey, gives me something to look forward to. Now I'm excited because I love that kind of stuff because again, as I said, it that to me is the form of punk. You're doing something completely different, and anyone can just take their songs and do an acoustic version of it, and that's fine. I don't. Some people have taken some great punk songs that they created and made amazing acoustic versions out of them, but
Yeah,
at the same time, to completely rearrange and say, you know what, we have the world at our fingertips. There's all these different instruments. There's all these
yeah,
different
man.
notes and sounds that we can play with and take our song that we already think is great and just completely fuck it up and make it better. Like,
A hundred
here we
percent,
go.
dude. 100%. Like we ended up working with some really talented musicians. The guy playing the cello, Joe, he finished recording with Studio Ghibli that day, and then came out and did our cello in the evening. And Ellie is we love Ellie. She did the strings on Summer Static, and she recorded in New Zealand for us and sent us the parts. And we had like some brilliant female vocalists come in and sing in ranges that with all the best will in the world, and grab my nuts as hard as I could. I'm never going to hit a detached falsetto or a high C. So it's lovely to be able to hear those songs and those melodies sound completely fucking different to us too. Like that really gives us a buzz. And there's some great musicians in this band, and there's some great writers in this band. So it would be a real shame to not use those skills, and just not just put our foot wherever the fuck we want to put it. Like I think that's so that's our prerogative. You know what I mean? It's one of
Yeah.
those things where like if we'd have sent it to a label and then it said, lads, what the fuck are you doing? We asked for an acoustic album. We'd have gone, all right, fair enough. Like we'll keep these versions for us, but here's an acoustic album, and it would have taken us a day to do the same songs in the same way acoustically. But instead, it's way more fun just to be musicians.
Yeah, and it breathes new life into something that, it came out in 2023, but he created it well before that. So it brings new life to something that is in your past and makes it all new again, which is just an awesome thing to see.
Yeah, man, definitely. Excited for everybody to hear it. That should be out. I don't know when this is going to air, but I imagine that the alternative acoustic demo versions are going to be out in probably January or February. So quite soon.
Awesome. Yeah. So this is definitely going to be a hard song answer for you, but based on the changing sound of the band, the ever changing growth of where you are, but if you had to play somebody a song of the Bar Stool Preachers that never heard your band before, right?
Hmm.
And they're like, "Hey, who are they? What are they? What song of yours would you pick to say, hey, here you go, listen to this?"
That is a really hard one. Um, Maybe Broken Hearts, 8.6 Days. I think that does a lot of all the things that we're about. But then because it's such a fucking diverse band, I think that if you play someone Choose My Friends, they're never going to expect Lighthouse Keeper. If you play
Yeah.
someone 8.6 Days, they're never going to expect All Turn Blue or Doorstep. So like it's a really difficult question. I think I'd have to probably gauge the person, but the song that I'm most proud of is probably Lighthouse Keeper. Um, Again, simply because of that journey of being brave with it and then seeing it go down so well. So yeah, I don't know. One of those two, 8.6 Days or Lighthouse, I think. Although One Fall Down was our first ever single, and that's still the lyrics in that song are still probably what encapsulates the band's message and ethos and heart more than any of the others. So maybe that.
And when you say message, it's really just your truth. It's what you believe in creating, and it's what you have to say. And I think anybody can take it however they want. I think everybody creates their own message when they receive a song, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're telling the truth through your voice, and someone finds a different message every time. That's why sometimes when I hear people explain a song to me a lot, I'm like, I got my own version.
Yeah,
Let me
absolutely.
own that.
100%. Like we've had people come up to us at shows and be like, "Man, that song about that guy's brother." I'm like, okay, fine. It
Yeah.
belongs to you, man. Like as soon as it's released, it stops being ours, and like it starts being everybody's, and that's beautiful.
Now, you've played so many shows. You've played with so many different bands. Was there a time that you were either set to perform or just performed, and you got to watch the band before you or after you, and kind of stood back and be like, "Wow, maybe we're not good enough"?
Fuck yeah. I mean, regularly. Yeah. I love playing with other bands that make us play the best we can. You know, we've been touted around by some of our favorite bands as their favorite and least favorite opening act of all time because it's impossible to follow us. But also, we're one of those bands that gets the crowd going more than any other band out there. So yes, the Bronx made me want to get a bus home. Like I love the Bronx. I love them. The music has been something that's been like, forever, from an angry teenager to an angry 30 something. The Bronx has always been there. Um, and watching those guys play, I still stand by the fact that they are probably the best live band in the world at the moment. They just fucking rip. The amount of energy and the amount of like Matt is a front man and a half. But I love that. Like my thing is other front people. Like it's the performance that Amy gives from the Interrupters is unbelievable. The performance that again Matt from the Bronx gives is unbelievable. Scott from Risky, like there are other musicians out there that are so engaging, that are so enthralling and inspiring that you're just like, fuck, if I could, if people watched us and they got even half of what I'm feeling right now, I'd die a happy man, and luckily enough, I'll never get to watch myself live, so that's great. I never have to fucking worry about that.
Now, with all your performances, is there, for good or bad, a memory of a performance that for some reason it just stays in that little portion of your brain that you're never going to get rid of it. And again, it can be good, it could be good or it could be bad. And we've had all different types here for stories for that. But, you know, one
I'll
performance that
do
always stands out.
I'll do one of each. Um, yes is the short form answer. Like, there's been that we're lucky. There hasn't been too many fucking awful shows, but there was one. There was one in Magenta, which is in Milan in Italy, and it was right at the end of tour. We've been on the road for like, I don't know, maybe 7 weeks. We did America, and then we did a bit of the UK and then Europe, and we were all fucking beat. Like, we were done. And there was a one now, thank goodness, ex-member of the band who was quite fractious. So the mood in the camp wasn't the normal preachers, like, happy-go-lucky campers. So we were playing this fucking show, and there was about 12 people there, and I called out this song, and I shouldn't have done it, but I called out this song that I thought that everyone would have remembered, and they're normally pretty good. Like, we don't write set lists; I just call them out, and the guys play, and it's fucking great because it means you can gauge the mood in the crowd. And I called out this song called "Good News," and and one by one, each member forgot the entire song and just turned around. So, like, it was like a reverse game show that, like, it, it was the funniest and most embarrassing moment I think I've ever had on stage, where even I forgot the lyrics for the second verse, and just kind of turned around and looked, and already facing the back of the stage was Gibbs and was Bungle, until there was just one guy up the front almost playing on his own. And it's gone down in our history and our folklore within the band that, whatever gig you're gonna play, it can't be as bad as Magenta. uh, it's I when I feel it now, my toes are still like, curling. I can't shake that feeling of wanting the ground just to eat me out, eat me alive. But, even 20 minutes outside of leaving that show, we were fucking pissing ourselves laughing about it. And it was only that one song, and we got through it. And then we carried on playing, and we played the rest of the set really well. But that one song will stick with me for fucking forever, as a solid rock bottom of where never to go again. For good moments, we've had fucking loads. There's as many off stage as there are on stage. Passing a bottle of whiskey down under a corrugated tin roof somewhere in fucking Scotland, or, dancing till 4 a.m. at a Serbian rave after a festival performance out there. Like, there's been some real quality moments shared with the people that we love in this band. But a special gig for me would have probably been Rebellion. This year, sorry, like 2023 was really special because Dad sang with us for the first time ever, and that was a big bucket list thing for me.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, it was cool, man. But when we released the very first album, we played. So Rebellion, this would have been 2017, and obviously no one knew any of the songs up until then. And I remember playing a song called "Looking Lost," which doesn't get much of a run out nowadays, but it's still a favorite of mine. And there's a moment in it where everyone just stops, and there's this line that says, "We got it wrong, we've got it all so wrong." And as we stopped, the entire room, and at the time it was the biggest crowd we'd ever played to. It was only 1,000 people or something, but we were babies, and the whole room just sang it back to us. And it really stopped me in my tracks. It actually, like, I looked at Bungle, and both of us kind of choked up a little bit. It was just so fucking special. It was one of those moments where we were like, ah, shit, okay, we're doing this. This is happening. And now we're lucky enough to get them all the time. People sing all those songs back to us. They sing the new songs back to us. They give us those moments in droves. But that was the first time that had ever happened for this band, and it was like, fuck, okay,
Yeah,
we're
that
we're
first
on.
moment will always be one of those things that when you're in a band and that moment happens, is how do I savor this, and how do I constantly, when things aren't going right, how do I
Yeah,
remember that? And it's unfortunate that sometimes you can't always remember that when you need it the most, but I can tell in your voice when telling that story, that is the moment where it's like fuck yeah, we're doing it. Like
Yeah, man.
we're doing it.
100%. And being in a band is a lot like being part of any team. You do it for yourself, but you also do it for, your people around you. Your other musicians, whoever that may be. You do it for them. So to
That's
be
what
able to turn around, yeah.
I I call it the same thing that I do here. It's a selfish, selfless act. That's
Fuck
really
yeah.
what it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And people get those concepts real twisted.
They do.
Like they get the whole I have to be selfish to be selfless, and I have to be selfless to be selfish thing. They don't really understand that, a lot of the time. So if you can see the enjoyment that the people around you get out of you or your actions or those moments on stage when they're shared with people that you love and respect and trust, like that's the thing that even if no one buys our albums, that's the reason I'll still be doing it in 20 years time.
No, and in 20 years time, I mean, you'll be 30 years in, and another quote that I always love and I tell people that some people don't understand is when you're doing something, one of the greatest things I ever heard, former famous basketball coach, passed away from cancer, gave a speech and he said, "I want to live my life childlike without being childish." And
Yeah, it's
that
nice.
is, 20 more years from now, you're in this game for 30 years of creating, being in the Bar Stool Preachers and still giving it your all on stage. And that's the childlike, but you're still giving back to everybody, which is, you know, not being childish, which is pretty
Fuck
fucking
yeah, man.
spectacular.
That's a lovely tenement to hold on to. I think there's a few of those that we've all got that kind of keep us who we are. Do you have any more? Do you have any more that sort of are real potent to you that you remind yourself of?
um, I'm afraid of tomorrow because I've seen yesterday and I'm in love with today.
I love that. That's strong. That's really strong. I like that. Mine are nice and simple. Um, be strong but be gentle. And that can be in any sort of walk of life. That's something to me that's always stuck straight through. Don't compromise and don't let your morals be compromised. But there's always a gentle way to do things. Sometimes motherfuckers take that away from you,
Yeah,
and then you
they
don't.
do. Well, it's when you try to get your message across and have someone try to believe your exact thoughts, and that's,
Yeah,
sometimes it's the expectation. Like I have too many expectations of someone to be just like me and don't ever give them the benefit of the doubt that they aren't me, so I have to approach things a different way. And that is,
absolutely.
being strong and being gentle. Like that's exactly how it is.
Absolutely. Like we've had people come up to us and say, some of our lyrics are stuff that they've now either crazily tattooed on their fucking necks or something that they hold on to like that. And to go back to that one fall down message, like you say, which is just the truth for us. I think that there's a line in there that will always stick out for me as one of the best lyrics that we've had, which is never look down at anyone unless you're giving them a hand up. And that's something that's just resonated through everything that we've done.
How can it not? How can
Yeah,
it
man.
not with a message just like that? I mean, that is I couldn't tell when you spoke it. I got a little choked up because I've heard you sing it, but that, I mean, that truly is. If people can't hear something like that and it means something to them, then they're fucking soulless. That's all it
Yeah,
is.
man. I fucking yeah. I would agree. And everyone fucking finds their way, right? Not everyone's a. We've all seen enough fucking films to know that the dickhead doesn't always end a dickhead. But it does need people like yourself and bands like us to kind of keep reminding people every now and again to just be fucking excellent to each other. Like, what the fuck are you doing? It's rule number one.
It's
If you're in a
it's so
position
much
like,
easier to be nice, right? It's
ah,
so much easier to be nice and smile than it is to be a dick and pitiful to people. Like it really is. It's so much easier to be nice.
I agree. Again, sometimes motherfuckers test you, but like I think I think overall, to keep your head level and to keep being the person that you love, that's another thing. Like that self-love thing is massive. You need to you need to keep being the person that you want to be, regardless of what situation you're in. So like, yeah, it's for me, that's how you gotta That's how you got to live your life. Like we do it in the band all the time. Like this year, we gave away, I think it was 3,500 books or something. And on the album run in March, we heard a stat that in the UK, 1 in 5 kids doesn't have access to literature at home. And we were like, well, I mean, let's try and do something about that. So every time we play a show for that album run, we asked people to donate their old kids' books. And we ended up, yeah, with like 3,500, 4,000 that we ended up giving to, family start centers and charities that work directly as well, sort of direct community action, not just putting them in a book recycling place or giving them to a library or some shit, but like actually to places that we knew were going to put them in the hands of people, you know, again, like working with charities and institutions that work with refugees or women's refuges, things like that. Like there's so much that a lot of bands could do, and that's why it blows my mind when people they get so hung up over, are you a punk band or you're a ska band? I don't give a fuck. I couldn't I couldn't give two shits if you think that we are, roller derby disco. It wouldn't matter to me one iota. Because at the end of the day, we're going to write what we write and we're going to do as much fucking good as we can until whatever day comes that we can't do it anymore, you know?
Well, I think that's true artistry because you're doing it for something other than yourself, right? You see an opportunity to what you're doing can create other opportunities and other things for people and giving back. I mean, there's no reason why every band shouldn't be trying to find something to do like that, because that is the ultimate selfless act, is to take your creation and make it useful for someone else.
Yeah, man. And I think that goes a long way in keeping fuckers humble too, you know? Like, it's just, I don't care how big your band is. I don't care how big you think you are. You can always do more good for other people than you're currently doing. And one thing I hate is social media bandstanding. There's bands out there at the moment that think it's all about just posting something up and kind of virtue signaling. And there's so much that you can do as a touring musician or as someone with a soapbox. Again, we've kind of gone from trying to change people's minds and making them think like us to maybe being a bit more inclusive and trying to have like a bigger conversation about shit. It's direct action and then compassion and kindness.
Yeah, and that's it. It's leading by example.
Yeah.
So here's a question. Is there a band in your life that you constantly turn to when you don't know what it is you're in the mood for listening to, but it's something you constantly go back to over and over again? Rolling Stone calls it your favorite band. I call it the band that never lets you down, that's always there to pick you up.
I love that. It's the Clash for me. It's unequivocally the Clash. Like I will listen to. I mean, Tom Petty's probably a close second. In terms of I don't know what to play, just play this. Then yeah, one of those two for sure. How about you? Who's yours?
Mine is the Posies
Okay,
or Face to Face. Those are always
face to
the
face.
the two bands that I always go to no matter what, when I'm like, man, I don't really know what the fuck I want to listen to. And
Great bands, man.
yeah, I have something from both, that I can always, you know what, this one or this one, but it'll
Yeah,
always be one of those two bands.
yeah, nice, nice,
All
good
right.
choices.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, the world's going to end in 5 minutes. Meteor's going to crash into the earth, and you have to listen to one song before everything goes away. What song are you listening to?
Ooh, one song. These Arms Are Mine by Otis Redding,
Wow.
or Out on an Island by Cox Sparrow.
Nice. Nice. You start with the Coxbearer and then end with These Arms of Mine, because you'll have 5 minutes. So
There you go.
that's awesome.
Again, how about you? What's your meteor track?
So mine is Over the Rainbow, as sung by Ray Charles.
Ah, fucking get in. That is a solid choice. What was your connection to that song?
So the connection to that song is my lovely sister, who's no longer with us. We grew up together watching The Wizard of Oz, and that was her favorite song, and she would twirl and dance around. And then when I met my wife's favorite movie was The Wizard of Oz. And so our wedding song, I'm getting teary eyed talking about it.
I am. I'm
I,
I'm over
our
here.
wedding
Yeah.
song was Over the Rainbow. My wife is still to this day, 20 years together, still my best friend in the entire world.
Oh,
And I
bro.
got the musical notes and treble clef tattooed on my arm of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So there's
Well,
something always waiting. So
I'm sure when that meteor does come crashing down, you guys will be holding hands and listening to it together.
yeah, she may be, telling me that to stop singing as she always does when it comes on.
Oh, superb. That's a beautiful connection.
But yeah, so it holds double meaning in my life, and it is just something very special. So I can imagine closing my eyes, watching a big red ball coming at us, and being like, "All right, everything's
Yeah.
all good."
Yeah, there you go. Something to make it okay. Hey, just,
Yeah.
fine. Bring it on.
All right. So, what is it that you listen to that people be really, really surprised to be like, "Wow, I can't picture TJ just sitting in a fucking armchair with a glass of wine listening to this."
I fucking love the Dixie Chicks, or just the Chicks now. That was a left field. I don't know how the fuck they snuck through the net when I was a kid, but I remember listening and thinking the musicianship on this is fucking incredible. Like, and the lads, I drive the fucking lads crazy. Whenever I'm driving up top, obviously we listen to a lot of shit in the van, and a lot of it is shit. But when that comes on, I'm singing every word for like 2 or 3 albums straight, and they get out and they're like, "Please God, no more country, just please fucking God, no more country." So that's one. Again, I'm a huge fucking fan of of like Alison Moyet and bands like Yazoo. Just pure 80s synthy, very airy fairy pop. I
Well, you're an
love some of
ABBA
that
fan
shit.
too, aren't you?
I'm a fuck yeah. We fucking love ABBA in the band. That's a great fucking band. I think we've even been on stage in ABBA shirts. So I don't think anyone's going to be surprised by that. But how can you not love ABBA? You know, like, songwriters.
Wow. So I got to tell you, I'm so glad we're not on video right now, because as soon as you said Dixie Chicks, I turned on the microphone, I laughed out loud and had the biggest smile on my face, because that to me is what I asked that question for, is that reaction, because it is one of those things where, people try to, we're always going to say, I'm an old fucker now in my life. And I'm like, I don't care if anybody fucking catches me listening to something. But there's always that split second when someone walks in, on you listening to something that they would have never pigeonhole you to be like, holy shit, what are they listening to and why? But the fact that you own
Yeah,
that so fast is awesome.
fuck yeah, man. Like I'm already there. I couldn't give a shit. People can people can like what they like, and that's good for them. And I'm gonna like what I like, and that's good for me.
You spent your life around music and in music and creating music. I missed the opportunity to ask it when you were talking about the formation of the band, but you're talking about being around music, and there had to have been a moment that the first time you decided to start a band, you came up with a name in your head of the band name you wanted to make. Do you remember what that was?
Fuck. I've had so many bad band names, Shane.
That's what I'm looking for.
God damn it. I think the worst band name I was ever in was a band called High Tech Hendrick. And that was in school as like a 13-year-old. We would go and steal other people's guitars because we didn't have any. And we would go and like just bunk class and sit upstairs in one of the music studios at school. And we were in a band called High Tech Hendrick that had some great songs like The Itch and Beer and Geeks, and just like the real unimaginative, brilliant, shitty teenage pop punk. That was probably
I,
the worst.
I love that you gave me the worst and not the first one you ever thought of.
Oh yeah, the first one was called Back to Back, I think. But I mean, again, that was when I was about 8 years old, and my cousin, who'd never played an instrument in his life, was
Were
like,
you a
"I'll play
boy
guitar."
band? Were you a
Yeah,
boy band?
fucking
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely, man. There was me and my cousin, and we just didn't care. So we were like 8, and he was must have been 10, and we were back to back, and it lasted as long as it took my mum to try and draw the logo, which was pretty much just the Kappa logo. And I remember being like, that's not good enough. I'm not doing this. I'm out. And everyone was like, okay, well, that lasted well. That was good. All the fucking 8 minutes. So that was the first one.
I love that. You get to look back at being back to back. That's awesome.
Fuck yeah. I might get some merch printed and present one to him on his next birthday.
I mean, those are the moments. That's why it tickles something in your head, and you're like, you know what? I got to do this. So, this is great. But TJ, we've been here for a while. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. So before we go into our final segment of the show, I'd really love to give you the opportunity to, I mean, I know we talked about social media and stuff, but the way people follow people nowadays is all through that. So if you want to give out your handles for people to keep up with the Bar Stool Preachers, we'll throw them out there when we premiere the episode, but give you guys the opportunity to tell everybody about your stuff, what you got going.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I mean, ultimately, people can find us wherever they fucking find their music, and that's on them. I would love it if whoever's listening to this who didn't think, that guy was a boring prick, if you did want to go onto Instagram or Facebook and just say hi, that sounds fucking great. But again, if you don't want to do that and you would prefer to be an anonymous Spotify listener, then fucking go do that. Like, I've got zero intention of influencing people to come to do this. If you've seen us live, we will see you again. If you haven't seen us live, one day you'll fucking see us live. So that's all the calling card really that I'm ever gonna give nowadays. Like people will find us if they want to find us, and we're lucky enough that right now, a lot of people seem to want to fucking find us.
I love that. Great job. All right, last segment. It is our weekly threes. It's where you guys first appeared on this show, was on my weekly threes of 3 things I was listening to. So I look for 3 things that you're listening to that you'd like to share with the world, and then I'll give my 3.
Okay. 3 things I'm listening to right now that I'd like to share with the world would be All My Tears by Alton Ellis. That's just an absolute jam, and that's what people should, if they ever find themselves wanting to get into, really where did a lot of this sound come from, that's where they should go. I think the next one would be Fast Pace by Grade 2. They had an album out recently called Graveyard Island, and it's a great album. So, go give that a listen to as well. And then I think for my last one, what have I been listening to this week? I would again kick it all the way around and say, go listen to fucking Only You by Yazoo, and then just tweet me all the hate that you've got, because I don't give a fuck. That's a great fucking song.
All right. Well, I got a eclectic 3 this week. It's just because I've been doing a lot of work, and it whatever finds me at that time, and then I continue to listen to it. So there's a magical jump between some metal, some singer-songwriter, and some pop rock. So
Do it. Lay it on me. What you got?
all right, the first one is a band / singer-songwriter called Medium Build, and the name of the album is called Wild.
Okay.
Next is a formidable band, came out in the 90s when shit was popping off, and they just dropped a new album, and I got to say it's probably their best album in the past 20 years, and that's Helmet. And the name of the album is called Left.
Helmet's a great fucking band. That's a great fucking shout.
Yeah. And the new album's fucking, it came out the other day. It's so
I haven't
fucking
done
good.
it, but I will do it after this conversation.
Yeah. And last but not least is a band called Social Animals, and the album it's self-titled Social Animals. It's pop rocky, but again, it's one of those things that all of a sudden it pops on, and you're like, "Fuck, I like this."
All right.
So,
I've made a note of all 3 of them. I'm gonna get stuck in.
awesome. Well,
So you say that's how you first heard our band, was on that segment?
no, I had you guys. I searched through shit through Bandcamp, and I found
Right.
you guys in my crazy search, and listened to everything you had out at the time and that was probably a year ago when I started completely cranking you out, and then it popped up again, and I was like, I listened to it all week long, and then I put you on my weekly threes list. So that's where
Well, thank you very
guys
much.
were here.
Cheers, Shane.
Well, I want to say big heartfelt thank you so much for what it is you do. Thank you for creating the music that brought us together. Thank you for being the outstanding person that you are and always giving back and finding ways to take your artistry and give back to people and others who can't do what you do. It means a lot, and people aren't always going to have the opportunity to tell you. So I want to let you know that, to me, you matter. And you matter to a lot of other people that don't have the opportunity to tell you, but you do matter. So keep doing what you're doing, because we'll support you in any way we can, because I love what you're doing. I love your message. And I really enjoyed our hour-long conversation today, and I really hope to do it again soon.
Shane, thank you so much, man. That's incredibly humbling, man. It brought a tear to my eye. I appreciate that very, very much. Thank you for having me on the show. I've really enjoyed myself.
Well, I'm glad you have. And everybody know what time it is now. It's time for you to go out, listen to the Bar Stool Preachers, and have a great fucking time.
silence to see if you still stood at the shore. I struggle more and more. I fumbled in this darkness to try and find my light, but I can't find you no matter how hard I try. In for a penny, don't make me in for a pound. Stop looking at me like you got me. Oh, what coward. In for a penny, don't make me in for a pound. Stop looking at me like you got me. Oh, what coward. I bask in the glow of this laptop light. The film still plays, it twists tonight. This moment, it's the same time every day.
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.